Now in this video, I'm going to talk about how you can scale as a coach or agency owner from 0 to 10K per month predictably with a system and a process that has worked for us. We're helping coaches and agencies scale beyond 50K or 100K per month consistently for the past 5 years. And these are the systems that we are using in our company Client Flow, and which has helped dozens of people, as I mentioned. So the processes are simple. What you need to be doing is take a pen and paper and note down each and every step of the process, because this isn't something that you'll find on YouTube. Now, in front of me is the funnel that we're using to scale coaches and agencies. But before that, I really want to talk about some fundamental, like to set the flow for you, like what are the main things that are actually important for scaling you. So in fundamentals, we have the offer, messaging, volume, and storage. So offer is really essential. We use a framework called the law of one. What we do is we select one niche in a particular industry, and we do comprehensive research on that niche to actually find out one painful problem for those people. And that is actually the problem which is in the important and urgent category. And that's not a nice to have problem. And so what you would be focused on is the strongest problem with one niche. And what we do is we design one solution for that one specific problem. We don't want to make things complex, because that's the way that people fail faster. And this is how the gurus, online gurus, and all these people are actually promoting, like you have to have multiple channels, multiple offers at the same time. So chaos doesn't scale, and chaos actually leads you to a disaster. And that's why most of the people, like 90% of coaches and agencies, they fail before they start. And so the important thing, I really want to stress this, it's really important that you select one specific niche with one problem. And why I'm saying this, because this fucking works. Like, until and unless you are at 30K per month, you don't have to think about another niche or another offer. And so the solution that we make should be based on that one specific problem. And we prepare an offer on that solution. And so the pain problem, one solution to that problem, and then we create messaging to present that offer to the audiences. So what is messaging actually? It is actually the presentation of your offer in a really strong way, a persuasive way. And so messaging comes with the copywriting, right? So if you want to have a killer messaging, then you have to be good at copywriting. And for that, you have to focus on learning copywriting. And I'll create some videos on that too. But the way that you present your offer actually matters, because the stronger the offer is and the better the presentation, it really kills the market. So most of the agencies follow actually the Alex Hormozi or Iman Ghazi style of offer creation, which is now a crowded approach, because if anyone is doing it, why would it give you a competitive advantage? And so you need to have a different approach that the market hasn't yet comprehend on. And so that's what I'll be giving you below in the description. I'll give you an offer creation framework through which you can create your own unique killer offer that people would feel stupid saying no to. And so the messaging is really important, as I mentioned. In the messaging, you have the messages on LinkedIn, messaging for email, like the copy, the structure of that message is really important. I'll also share the framework for the messaging too. And then we have the volume, right? And so when your offer is dialed in, your messaging is great, then how much you actually going to send those messages, like how much per day? What would be the volume on LinkedIn? What would be the volume on email? Will you be running ads or not? And so you set a volume per day. So for example, you are sending 1,000 emails per day, and so you track what would be the reply rate to actually make it a successful offer. And so you track the reply rate, then you track the appointment booking rate and the conversion rate, right? So those are actually the rates that gives you a clear picture of how your offer or your messaging is performing. And then we have the story. This is the fundamental of all of them, right? So most of the people, they forget about the brain story while they're running the business, especially the coaching and agency size. What they do is they're just more focused on sending out cold messages, doing all of the stuff that is not so important as being aware of your own business. And that's what the story gives you, like what you stand for, what emotions are you targeting, what specific problems are you solving for the business, which actually in turn gives them freedom, right? Gives them the ultimate advantage. And so if you know the emotion that you're targeting and the change that you're making in the world, then you can create a story on that, and you can present your story in messages and post and on the website and everywhere, right? And then comes the client acquisition. Obviously, if you have all the fundamentals dialed in, and I assume that you have your delivery structure, like you know exactly what you're offering to your prospects, then comes the client acquisition. So as I mentioned, you need to find out one specific channel where most of your audience is the people that you're targeting, like your ICPs, the ideal clients that you will be targeting. If most of the people are using one specific major platform, you identify that platform and you start building a personal brand on that platform. And so you select one primary channel. You don't want to go with all the channel. That would be overwhelming and you won't get a proper response and you won't scale easily. And then we create one specific landing page with one VSL video. So one video would be really a training format. So what we do, the best thing that worked for us is we create a training, right? We want to solve one specific problem for them, and then they use the training actually to inquire further about the main process. So we sell them the main offer actually. So you have one landing page, one VSL, and once they go through the video, they book the call, right? That's how the normal process works. On the back end, we have then further nurturing and sequences. And so you have one fulfillment model, like the delivery that you're doing. Either you should be running ads for them or you should be doing outbound. You shouldn't be doing a mix of all the things, which make things really complex. So you should have really less moving parts within the business and everything should be streamlined. So one fulfillment model means that you target one specific delivery model, right? Like, maybe running ads or just simple outbound or, other delivery methods. Like if you're a business coach, a health coach, or a fitness coach, you should have a specific criteria or specific delivery mechanism defined that you can actually give them, and you don't have to juggle all the parts in one place. So then comes the scaling part, right? As I mentioned about the volume, now it's the time to actually scale up things. So if, for example, you are sending off 1,000 emails, you have to increase it and you have to see exactly what's the ratio of the reply rate. So if you're not getting any appointments, you have to increase the volume, but also you have to look into the offer quality and also the messaging. Is it good or not? And you have to test that. So what we do is we do a market validation test, which is like a 48-hour test. What we do is we go to the market, send out at least 100 messages, and we see the responses, and then we track if, for example, the reply rate is above 15%, then we say that's a good to go. And then if it's below that, we just reject the offer, and then we create a second one. And so when you do the test and then you scale out the actual offer, that's where the scaling actually happens. And so, for example, once you start bringing in people, then you have to retain it, right? And this is where most of the people, the coaches and agencies, they're stuck here because they can't retain clients. They are getting consistent clients each month, and there's like a feast or famine situation. They get the client and then you can't retain, and then they leave them, right? So the churn rate is high. You have to focus on the churn rate. And so for retention, you have to have a value ladder defined. Means that if, for example, this is my downsell offer, and if people buy like the $47 thing, then I'll sell the main offer, which would be like a $5,000. And then if they go through the 5,000, then I'll sell the 10,000, right? So you have a whole value ladder defined for the person, like what would be the upsell, the downsells, and all that. And then we have the support, like what kind of support are you providing to the person? And that's really important. Like in what time frame. You shouldn't be delaying the communication, because communication is the key. It's the reason why people stay or people leave you, right? And so strong communication. If you don't have time, just find out someone from Philippines or something, to actually give them this amount, and they'll handle the entire client communication. And then we have the fulfillment, like the model, the actual delivery that you're doing. What's the structure of that? So if your client journey is defined, like exactly step by step, if a client is onboarded, what would I do within this time frame? You have to define each and every step and create SOPs for that, right? In our company, what we do is we have SOPs for everything, right? So for client journey, for fulfillment, like the delivery mechanism that we do, we have a complete SOP. So for example, if anyone from outside is coming, they would understand the process really quickly because they know exactly step by step what we do, and they can apply it just looking into it. And just 2 to 3 times reading it, they would have mastered the actual delivery. And so then comes the referrals. So for example, if you have brought results for the client, then it's time to actually ask them about, if you like the services, then you can refer us, and that would be really great. And this is actually the growth of referrals that starts to kick in. But the main thing is you have to retain the person. If you haven't retained the clients, then referrals don't come. That's the main thing. And so then we have finances, right? The tracking system. Most people also fail here, and they can't do proper capital allocation because they don't know about their finances, right? Like they don't know how much are they spending to acquire a client, and then how much are actually going to running ads and spending on teams, the payrolls and all that. And so if you're stuck in all this chaos, you have to have a tracking system that you need to run and have constant inputs in there. And so exactly it gives you the clear picture of the business. So tracking your finances is really the key, and that's where you scale fast. So this is the main funnel that we are currently using. And what happens here is we have 4 different mechanisms that we operate. And so the first thing we have is attention generation. Attention generation means that, getting leads and setting up things like, creating content to actually bring in people to eyeballs. And this is the fundamental currency of growth. So the more attention you have, the more you can own and the more you can convert to actually buying clients. And so from attention, what we do is we gather data, right? And then we educate that attention, like we go with a community approach, right? We own their attention to actually get the data from the people, like what are they talking about or offer, and how will they buy. And so when we educate the attention, then we convert it later. Those are the process. So this is the main thesis of how everything goes. And so normally if you're running ads, we go to the straight landing page, and there we get the opt-in right before the process selling VSL, which is obviously a training. But most of the people just go through like this simple funnel, like this is called as VSL funnel, and they forget about the further nurturing. And so what we do is after people opt in, we have a nurturing sequences, right? The sitter actually reach out to the person individually, and have the conversation like a personal human level conversation, because authenticity is really important nowadays. And then we have also the emails going on in the back end, right? So we have a sequence of emails that goes through the nurturing sequences. We actually, make the person really understand our offer better and what we do, and we also move them to some content. And so that's actually the sitter's way, and also the email. So further the backend process, the nurturing is going through, and then once they watch the VSL, they book the strategy call, or they book from the emails or from the sitter. And so when the call is booked, they redirect to the content, and so once they book the call, then another workflow actually fires, which is the appointment confirmation and also the appointment nurturing. Like if in the show up sequences, the appointment confirmation and the show up sequences flow, and we also give them some free assets. For example, they're in the group, and what happens is people, again, the growth specialist, they talk to them, they find out the bottlenecks, and when they show up to the meeting, we have a different sequences. If not, then we have a no-show workflow, and then if they're closed, then obviously we onboard them. So this is actually a general overview of how this whole thing works. It might seem simple, but when you do it in the operations, when you scale these things, it really kills it, because this is the result of a lot of clients that we help, and the results of something which you like. Execution in just theory has like complete different domains. And so once you're in execution, you actually feel what would work and what wouldn't work, because the market tells you a different story than what you actually think. So I hope this video was helpful. If you want to see more of such content, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. I would love to see how you think about it. What are your questions? Just write the comments, and I would love to answer all your questions.